Hi guys, welcome to the TheSpark.One YouTube channel. Among millions of channels today, if this is your first time happens to find us, we're so happy to have you here. My name is Hui, and I'm your host today. We invite you to join us together to co-create the future. Why? Because we think that we can co-create with anyone on anything. We built a social creation app called Sparkland, and we call ourselves TheSpark.One. Today, I'm so happy to introduce Jane Trapman. Hi Jane, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. So my name is Jane Trapman. I'm originally Dutch, so the correct way, actually for my back name is Trapman, but nobody...
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, don't. Like, I always introduce myself with Trapman. It's easier.
Okay.
Yeah, so born and raised in the Netherlands. I currently live in Toronto, Canada. And yeah, I'm a writer, so I wrote 2 novels, working on the 3rd one, self-published it. Started my own business or branding almost 3 years ago, and in the meantime started Born to Fly, which is my new initiative, which I'm very passionate about, and I will share more about that. So I think I just leave it with this.
Fantastic.
I guess that I wrote a book, that I actually did.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, you did it. By the way, what's the book name? Oh, you said that you have 3 books, right?
Well, 2 published. So
2 published.
Yeah, so the first one is Gels and the Dowsing Rod, and the second one needs still to be translated to Dutch. Sorry, English, but it will be Gels and the Dave Justice. Still felt there is storytelling in me. I just want to tell a story. And yes, you can do that through a brand, and I think that's really important, and that's why I started Toro Branding. Goal for me to use storytelling is, again, to empower people, to inspire them. Because we all get inspired by certain stories.
Sounds to me you're Chief Inspiring Officer.
I like that title.
Yes.
That's how the first book actually came to be. It was just like, I want to create a story. I just want to write a book. It's been something that's been on my bucket list for years. I don't know how long. And why don't I just do it just for the experience? At least then I can tell myself, you did it. you tried. And I published it, I think, end of 2018. Yeah. Yeah, so it's 2 years old. Fiction and a little bit of fantasy. Not like, I'm not a hardcore fantasy writer, but there is fantasy in there a little bit, maybe mixed with sci-fi. It's kind of like this dystopian idea that, something in the world happened and it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed or the world is gonna disappear.
Sounds like there's a big danger and then there's a like character, right?
There's always a hero.
Yeah.
The 3rd one will be different, and I'm actually writing it in English, which is more of a challenge. So I feel really challenged by that. But that's about basically the idea of Born to Fly. So it will be about a main character who is just living life on autopilot. And this main character eventually loses the one thing he really cares about in life, and then gets like into this black void, doesn't know what to do anymore with his life. And starts figuring out how to get back on track and what life really is about. So it could have been a non-fiction book talking about, finding your calling. But because I love storytelling and
Absolutely. Now I understand that this character is facing a danger or maybe a super important decision and why he make this choice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We kind of put ourselves in the story.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And it doesn't matter if it's a book or a movie or a series or a game. You're with the main character and you're experiencing what he or she is going through.
It could be a short movie.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I already sometimes work in film because I have a background in television, so that's where it also comes from. So cool. I'm kind of exploring the industry, or if it's not going to be film, theater, it could be. When I moved to Toronto, I basically started my business at the same time. which is Zoro branding. So that's where the brand strategist comes from, helping other businesses with their brand and setting up a foundation for that brand. So it's not a good idea to move abroad to a new country where you don't know anyone and set up a business. That's what I found out. But anyways, I tried to set it up for, a year and a half. And after that period, I still felt like it wasn't really successful in terms of what I wanted it to be. And at a certain point, I was like, I just want a group around me with entrepreneurs who are like-minded and who share, my values. And I'm a Christian, so I have a faith that I hold on to. And I wanted to find entrepreneurs that had that same faith, or, were working from the same values. So I tried to find that group of people, but I couldn't really find it in Toronto. And this is all pre-COVID, right? So we still could do in-person meetings. And at a certain point, I was, maybe I should organize an event and see if I can find people that are interested in the same type of community as I am. So that's how it started. And I didn't really feel like organizing events because that's not who I am and what I want to do. Anyways, because I felt it was necessary. And that's how it started. So I think it was July 2019. 2019,
yes.
We had the first meetup, the first network event. There were more than 15 people. I was quite surprised because normally when you do something for the first time, people sign up but they never show up.
That's true.
But they showed up, and
yes.
And from there on, people said, "Oh, I was really looking for this. I'm so happy that you started it," and that's how it started growing.
In this kind of the journey, you made up the decision, right? And then say, hey, because I couldn't find it, maybe it is my time to initiate it. What drives you to pick this path? There may be some other ideas you can try, but you said that.
Yeah, you were right. I wanted to find groups that were already out there, but I couldn't find it. So that's why I need sometimes to just reflect something or just vent something.
Right, support each other.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Somebody said, wow, how this has helped me to do X, Y, Z, or to connect me with this person. I'm like, that's it. I don't need more. That's what I need.
Is that because of the first event, 15 people show up that give you some kinds of encouragement and you realize the market or maybe the community really needs?
Yeah. So I think it was that first meetup that, 15 people came and told me I am looking for this is something that I need. So it wasn't just me who was looking for it and who needed it, but also I had no idea how to start something like that, right? I knew I wanted community, and the way to go about that I thought was maybe organizing an event, because then you can meet in person and that's easier to get to know each other and to create that connection. So that's, I guess, where the Spark started. But to turn it into a business idea, I think happened later on.
Yes.
Once I started thinking about, okay, how do I make this more than just, a networking event? Because there are tons of networking events.
True.
How do we make sure there's a deeper connection and that we kind of start trusting each other? And that's when I thought of, okay, so we probably have to have an online community as well. And I have to make sure people are linked to each other. And once I started doing that more and more, after half a year or so, somebody started saying to me, maybe, Jane, it's time that you reward yourself for what you're doing as well.
Right.
And that's when I started thinking about, well, maybe this could be a business idea. I don't know how exactly it's going to make money or... But that's when I thought this could be something. I know there are communities out there that actually are businesses and they are profitable or sustainable, and that's something I want to work on. It's not my first priority, but it's something that, if I want the community to be better, to have this kind of blood, financial blood as well, to make sure I can actually grow it and improve it. Yeah.
Nice, very nice. What you passionate about this community different than other online community or events?
Yeah, I think it starts with the name as well, because I chose Born to Fly for a reason.
Yes.
And it comes from the belief that everybody has a God-given calling. So if you tap into that, into that calling, if you tap into your talents and your skills, if you use them right, you will fly. You know, you spread your wings, you will fly, and you have the feeling, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. And that's exactly what I want people to reach. So I do that by providing them the community. That's what I hope for. So I guess that's the foundation, that's the belief. And I think that's something, I wouldn't necessarily say unique, but it's something like a value that's rare, I think, among some other communities that you might see out there. So I've really focused on like, okay, I want you to fly. I want you to, you know, the resources that we provide are also helping you to get to know yourself better and what you are capable of doing. And I guess the aspect of the shared faith or, you know, principles in life, I think that's something what sets the community apart as well. And we focus on really early stage entrepreneurs, you know, who need, who really sometimes just need other voices to say something. So that added mentorship into the premium community. So yeah, it's really focused on the people, the starters basically, who are just starting and who are serious and who are looking for the support that they need to get going. So I would say, I know I have 4 values that I wrote down. It's more like there's deep connection as well. Like I find it really important that we connect on a deeper level and not just superficial saying, okay, so this is my pitch. Do you have clients for me? No, that's not how it works. It now has like a premium community membership and a free community membership. And my whole idea is just to bring people together that are like-minded, that want support, that want, you know, maybe collaboration, that want prayer, just to have this community, you know, that you. Yeah, so we have, I'm working on a program that's called How to Find Your Calling. And I tested it with a couple of members, if it works, like what they like about it, what we should change. And basically it's built on this eagle framework. That's why, Born to Fly, eagle, you know, I use the eagle. It's a very strong image. So we use the eagle for 5 steps. Basically, we use the wings, the eyesight, the heart and lungs, and the flying, and it focuses on the sun. So there's like 5 steps. And what I do is I help people get through, okay, we start big, like what's the dream? What kind of dreams do you have? Where do you want to go in life? So it can be like actual dreams, but it can also be something you just, you know, think about or dream about or have a vision. And then we start narrowing it down. So we have a dream and vision, and then we start thinking about your passion or passions, if you have any. Then we look at your skills. And then eventually it's, okay, we have all of this. How does this translate into a calling? And then once you have your calling, what are you going to do? Like, what's going to be your first step? So taking action, actually flying, spreading the wings is the last step that we go through. And I've done it with a couple of people, and they're all pretty enthusiastic about like what I take them through.
Yes.
They've done it in different formats. So some have done it like on their own, others have done it with me, like with a one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
And eventually it's probably something we want to integrate as this group thing that you can do. So it will be a program, you sign up for it,
right?
And you go through the material together. Instead of having, PDF file or something, it's probably going to be a video that you watch together. And then you go through the exercises on your own and discuss them at the end. That's
I like
kind
that.
of
So more like a workshop, right? Style. That might be better.
Yeah. It is still, personal development, so you can still do it in your own time, so that if you can talk about something, you can process things better. So that's where the group element comes in.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of like what we're thinking about at the moment of trying. So that's the dream coach part. And then, there can be like follow-up programs. It can be about your character, like what is holding you back at the moment. Doing business God's way for us might be.
And how do you plan, right? Like how do you turn this calling into the actual services?
Exactly.
And then how do you actually execute on that? Oh, amazing. Sounds like a great initiative, to actually help people. I found fascinating about you mentioned about using ego as a kind of a analogy, right?
Yeah, it is an analogy.
You create the framework because I found that it's very hard to teach people vision. Okay. It's kind of, you have to close the eyes and then let your brain, let your mind and heart connecting. Probably easier for a kid to kind of dream about it, talk about it without having the fear.
Without thinking in limitations, you're absolutely right.
So you start to build the personal emotion connection to that dreamland, which just helps you imagine.
Yeah.
I love that. Vision is such a powerful approach because it suddenly allows you to you may potentially find out a new path to a new goal or to a new destination. Maybe you never allow yourself to explore.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like the two ways you describe can both be possible, right? You can know, like, I'm actually good at this, so I'm gonna build something based on what I'm good at. Or maybe you're the other way around and you actually start dreaming about something that you really like. And you're thinking, okay, so this is what I want to do, but how do I do it? What kind of skills do I have? And maybe I should find a partner for the skills I lack. I think the best advice has to do with Born to Fly. It's something that I built on my own. And then at a certain point, I had to make sure other people were taking over. The feedback that you get from people. That's the most rewarding part. It doesn't necessarily mean always the positive feedback. Sometimes there is more negative feedback, but brought in a good way that you actually know how to apply that to making the business better. But that's basically what I do it for. Like the past year and a half, like Born to Fly wasn't making any money or something. That's something I added later on. So money shouldn't be your motivation. What people are telling you and how it benefits them should be your motivation. And that feedback was the reward that I did it for. Yeah, so it was somebody said, Jane, it is good actually that you have to let this go, because a community is something that you build with people and not for people. And I think that was amazing advice. So what I love about Sparkland and about a Spark community is just to begin with the word spark. That's where it all starts. And I think if you put a lot of sparks together, you get a fire. And that's exactly what I like about Sparkland, because that's why you bring people together. And the more people that come together, that's what I've seen with the community as well, the more you can accomplish. So that's why I believe that, what you're doing is something worth exploring, because it is that power of bringing people together on working on an idea to make the world a better place that will eventually thrive.
Thank you so much for being here. It's just so inspiring to hear your story, your journey. And then I have best wishes for Born to Fly, the next year, 2021.